Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jalen Says. And today we are with someone who's been a very influential part in the area. He's helped out, he's been influencing the children to do better with their lives, do great things with their lives. He's pretty inspirational. He's doing what he can to help the community and just be a service. So introducing himself even further, here's Mr. Carl Myers. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being on today. And you do a lot in the community. You help out. You do all this stuff. So to really get the ball rolling, who is Carl Myers?
Carl Myers is a kid from the Bronx who once was a troublesome child, got corrected, reformed himself, and now pouring all of that back into the community. That's Carl Myers.
Okay, okay. Now let's start off with pouring back to the community. First off, how I met you is through Justin Community, but I also had connections to Fathers Among Men, which is two things you're kind of grouped up and a part of. So,
Right.
what inspired you to go out and help the community and influence the youth?
Well, it actually started before I was in the community. Like I said, a troublesome youth. I did some prison time. I did 12 years, and it really started there. My reformation process in there. I started educating myself, well, re-educating myself, reading and different things like that, which led me to teaching the other brothers around me how to read, helping them with their GED. And it kind of started right there. Then I got placed in a position to where I was working with a counselor, and he kind of like became my role model, and he was just showing me different things as far as counseling. And I always had a natural passion for helping others. I get it from my grandmother, my mother, my aunt. My aunt, she works for the NAACP. My mother, she had a daycare center, and my grandmother, she did all of the above. So, it kind of runs in the family.
Okay, that's pretty cool that you use your mistakes to kind of help and guide others. But
Mm.
what made you get into the situation to be incarcerated and what led you down the wrong path?
To put it in a nutshell, just bad choices in my environment. My mother and my father, they did the best that they could do, but trying to take care of me led them to work. And, just the environment that I grew up in, Bronx, New York, Queens, New York, 90s, a lot of gang activity, a lot of drug activity. And just at that time, I really didn't know. I knew for my father, but my father was, taking care of business, working and stuff like that. So the role models that I had at the time was wrong. And I chose the wrong direction, but gladly, I went to prison, got sat down by the grace of God, and just got around some brothers that was educating themselves and showing me how to reform myself. Counseling help, these different classes while I was inside prison just motivated me to finally change.
Okay, when you first got out of prison, what was your first step?
It started while I was in prison, so just getting around positive people, tapping into. I knew my time was almost up, so I had a lot of questions from counselors. Just what can I get involved in? What can I do? I already had determination, meaning when I got out, I was going to do whatever it took to get a job, even if it wasn't getting paid. So if it was me just washing windows or cutting grass or whatever I had to do to stay on that positive track, I pretty much had my mind set up on that. But the
Okay.
first step when I came home was I actually got a job and I enrolled in college. I enrolled at Virginia College and I got into cosmetology.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. All right. So you flipped it around. What made you want to be in cosmetology?
I always have a passion of running a business, and one of the businesses that I wanted to run at that time was a barber shop because I looked at it as, a place where people could gather, community, barbershop talk, and just a place to network. So, I looked at me going to cosmetology to pursue that.
Okay. 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 Did when you were younger, what were your steps in life that I guess made you also want to be in cosmetology in the end?
Just that barbershop experience, growing up in New York, I living in the neighborhood that I lived in Queens. I went to a barbershop called Foreplay, and this barbershop was owned by the rapper from Kid and Play. And just seeing him coming in and out the barbershop, giving back to the community. I've seen Martin there, just different experiences in that barbershop made me want to open up a barbershop. And I also know how impactful a barbershop is in the community. Cutting little boys' hair, just talking to them, giving them wisdom, different things like that. And I know once you have a network of people that's congregating, consistently, a lot of things can happen from that.
Okay. When you were younger, what influences did you have around that kept you positive, and what ones you feel like today that you should have cut off?
I had a lot of positive role models. My dad for one, my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts, my uncles, all of that. But at that time, being in a poverty neighborhood, um, your first thought is money, how to get out of this situation, right? So a lot of the times you see money in negative situations. I saw the drug dealers, I saw the womenizers, I saw all of these people with money, and that was my thing. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get this money to get out this situation, get out this neighborhood, give back to my people. But unfortunately, I was looking in the wrong direction instead of looking at what was placed in front of me, the people that was in my life. And like I said, bad choices, bad decisions, and different things like that led me in the wrong direction. Also, I would say ignorance too.
What do you think made you gain this ignorance, even with all these people around you?
Um, the ignorance came in from me not being attracted to the things the positive people was doing. The positive people in my life, they was telling me a lot of positive things, but they went to work every day, or I often see them struggling, or paying bills, or they just seem to be like the average Joe. And growing up in the '90s, when rap was big, which is still big, but at that time, you had more influence, which you still have influence today. But I think back then, where I was at, it drew me to that side, and what the rappers were talking about at that time was, drug dealing and gangster music and different things like that. So, not only was I hearing it, I was seeing it, and also I was attracted to it. So, I feel like that's where the ignorance came in from because I pretty much shut myself out from a lot of these positive avenues that I could have been taking.
When okay, so going back to I guess closer to the present day, after you were studying cosmetology and all of this, what were your next steps to I guess your life at that point?
So college, I pretty much had a plan going to college, which was simply networking. I never been a big classroom guy, good at school, none of that, right? But I always knew that college was a place for people to network and tap into different things, and that's exactly what I did. I met a lot of exceptional people in college. I started networking. I was running my own business at the time. I was selling clothes and just meeting different people from selling clothes. That got me into party promoting. For party promoting, I started meeting other type of people, meaning like people that dabble in politics and people that do things in the neighborhood and community activism and stuff like that. So, it led me in that direction once I started connecting with them to something that I always wanted to do, and here I am today.
That's incredible. Okay. Okay, with all the things that you do to help out in the community, because when I was searching through your page, gathering information, I saw a lot of things about upcoming events and current events that you're helping in for the community. And how do
Mhm.
you feel when you have the chance to give back to the community?
I feel great. I feel great, but it's a flip side to the coin to that because sometimes I get frustrated too, right? But I have to remember the state that I was in at one time, meaning that, I didn't want nothing to do with that because it wasn't attractive to me. So I always remember that and keep that in mind, that and it motivates me. It motivates me to the point to do new things, try new things, and push positivity in a manner to where it can be accepted, just like the other things that's going on. That's why I try to hold it at that standard to where it's being presented in the same manner. Like you see a lot of hype around parties or clubs or different things like that. I try to put that same type of promotion into the positive things.
And you're basically doing what you wanted to do from the beginning, which was give back to the community, but now you're putting it into like positive ways.
hmm Well, the plan was to give back to the community, but you have to draw up a plan of how are you going to give back to the community, right? And
Yeah.
then, with that comes programming. And actually, when you deal with the people, they're going to tell you what they need, so it's all about, in return, all about how you present it and your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Now, with one group that you're a part of, Fathers Among Men, you
hmm
help influence a lot of guys and some girls as well who are in the community, and you're helping them get and guess into a better mindset and keeping a better mindset. So,
Right.
how do you get through some people who are not really wanting to communicate with you or not just wanting to be part of it?
I try to meet them where they at. Everybody has something that they like or some interest into something. And I try to tap into that interest or that like and meet them where they at and use that type of terminology. For example, like if I know you like rap music, I'll talk to you in that language until we come to some type of common ground, and I see that peak of interest, and then I throw in a message, a jewel, some type of positivity in that conversation, and hopefully they'll gravitate towards that because that's what worked for me.
Okay. All right. All right. So, what is your goal with helping the community?
My overall goal is actually opening a facility to where all of these different programs is in there. To well, I'm gonna take it back. So when I was in prison, right,
Yeah.
there was all type of classes: motivation for change, alcoholic anonymous, narcotics anonymous, thinking for change, 10-step program, all of these different programs. And I was like, if we had that in society, maybe the community would be a better place. So that's what I'm striving for. I'm striving for a facility that has all of these different type of resources, have all of these programs and all of these classes there. And
Okay.
there's some programs and there's some facilities here in Macon that's already doing that. But to have everything under one roof, I think that would help the people much better, so they don't have to go here, there, and everywhere just to get different services.
Wow. What did you learn most about yourself when being incarcerated?
Myself. I learned myself. I learned who I was. I learned who I am as a man, and I learned the role of man. And from learning the roles of man, I learned the roles of woman, and I learned the role of a child. And, knowing that, I feel like all of us need to know that. All of us need to know the roles of man. All of that leads back to self. And I think when you look at different individuals, they don't really know themselves, and they don't really know self, what self is capable of, what self potential is, and the pros and cons to self. For example, like we have systems that make us. Are we really in tune with those systems? You know what I'm saying? Are we really in tune with how the mind works? Are we really in tune with how the digestive system works? Are we really in tune with these different things? And from learning these things, it helped. I became conscious of a lot of different things, not just myself, but others. And I also learned that I'm pure intelligence. I'm nothing more than intelligence, and everything around me is intelligence. So why be ignorant to the intelligence that's around me?
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. So, with the 12 years that you had being incarcerated, what did you do to, I guess, pass the time when you're figuring out yourself, figuring out why you did this, figuring out your next steps? What were you also doing?
So really, like I got to me, when I got locked up, it was a deeper meaning. It was like this was supposed to happen, and I registered that early. You know what I mean? Like when I was in the county jail before I even went to prison, I had that concept like this is happening for a reason. But I also told myself I'm gonna come better out than I was when I came in. And from there, I poured into myself. I got my GED. I started taking these different classes. I got into trades. I learned plumbing. I learned brick
Oh,
masonry. Um, I started to learn everything that was available to me. I was heavy in the law library, heavy in the regular library, just reading everything from westerns all the way to biographies. But what really did it for me was two books, well, three books. Um, the autobiography of Malcolm X was one. Two was a book that my mother wanted me to read a long time ago, and I remember her writing me a letter saying that if I ever run across this book, to read it, and that was Man Child in the Promised Land by Claude Anderson, I believe. And that book and the autobiography of Malcolm X, as well as a book called Knowledge of Self by Supreme Understanding, these books opened up my mind to new things. It opened up my mind, especially to Black history, which I was lacking. Um, and from learning Black history and learning what our people went through, what our people sacrificed, I began to elevate. I began to pour into myself a little bit more, and I became educated because our ancestors fought for education. They was killed for learning. Who am I to disgrace them by not learning and being ignorant? So, that really turned things in my life.
okay. So, was that the reason you learned all these things? Plumbing, went to law libraries, all this stuff.
No, that came before that. So I got into plumbing and brick masonry before I even transcended into the Malcolm X books and everything like that. Again, like I said, I told myself once I got incarcerated that this was for a reason and that I was going to better myself. So I just began getting into all these different programs to seek positivity at that time.
Oh, all right. That's pretty cool. So, you just wanted to learn how to do all these skills. So, I guess you just have that for either yourself or to teach on others.
Right. And being in prison, if you're not in classes or you're not active, you're pretty much in a cell all day, and that wasn't me. So I wanted to get active. I wanted to do positive, and I also knew that the way the world was going, that you had to have some type of skill in order to be successful in life. So that's why I jumped on plumbing and I jumped on brick masonry.
That, that's a pretty cool way to get out of a situation that wasn't meant for you in a way. So, with all the things that you do, with all the mentoring, with all the helping and all this stuff, you're also an activist. And how do you feel about, I guess, spreading word for the people and, I guess, going for change?
I love it. I feel like it's my duty. As a civilized man, our duty is to teach civilization. And what does civilization look like in 2023, right? It looks like a lot of activism, a lot of reformation, because the black community, especially, is in a bad condition. So it's always work to do. There's a lot of single mothers out here raising kids that need help. It's a lot of kids that's raising kids that need help, and a lot of elderly need help. You drive around Macon, you see the conditions of our neighborhoods. We need it. We're no longer in the times of Martin and Malcolm that was speaking up and having a voice for the collective. So I feel like me myself, I have to speak up and voice my opinion for the collective. Even if the collective is not with me, but they could benefit from what I put out into the universe.
All right, all right. When helping everyone and everything that, well, helping everyone, all the communities and things that you do, you were not born here. You also came here from New York, the Bronx, and you moved over here. So, first question is, why did you decide to come down to Georgia?
I actually moved to Georgia through my dad. My dad moved to Georgia around 99, 2000. He lived in Atlanta, and I lived with him for a minute up there. And I enjoyed Atlanta. But while I was in prison, just seeing everything that Atlanta had going on and how it was becoming what it is today, I just knew that I wasn't ready for Atlanta. I felt like it would have been too fast, or I would have got sucked back into my old ways. So I chose a little slower spot, and that was Macon. And coming here, I was like, yes, this is the place for me. It was sort of like destiny, because riding around, I seen all these vacancies, and I just seen a city that was in development, and I saw where I could easily fit in and try to um, put up my own development, express my own ideas in the city. And from there, it pretty much has been working. A lot of my ideas have been implemented. Um, just the things that I have been doing since I've been in Macon has been amazing. And I know nowhere else I could be doing the things that I'm doing at this magnitude, from being on the news to sitting down talking to the mayor on radio stations,
Wow.
the Grand Opera House stage. Just a lot of opportunities have came my way in this city, and that's pretty much what I saw when I seen what I saw here.
Wow. So, how do you feel about all the opportunities that you have in Macon to spread the word and also just for what you do?
It's a blessing, because I know in some of these larger cities, my voice will be heard, my opinion wouldn't matter. So, I count my blessings for being here, and I feel like I'm here for a reason. I didn't discover Macon for no reason. And since I've been here, like I said, a lot of elevation, a lot of networking, a lot of connecting, from the mayor all the way down. So it's just, it's it's a good place and a good time to be in. Um, the city is transitioning. It wants to be a metropolitan, but it's still treated as a town. But I feel like 3, maybe 5 years from now is going to be that metropolis, and I would like to have some stake in that. So this is what I'm striving for daily.
Right. When was the last time you went back to New York, and do you have any plans of helping the environment over there?
Yeah, so I go to New York often, maybe once or twice a year. My mother's still there, my sisters are still there, my aunt is still there. So, I still have family there. My family is putting in the same type of work that I am. My mother, she works with autism kids every day. My aunt, she's the director of a daycare center in New York called the Williamsbridge NAACP
Wow.
daycare center. My stepfather, he's a part of fraternity. He also works at New Paltz College in New York. So, I just feel me personally, I don't feel like I'm ready for New York because I don't have all the connections or the credentials or everything like that. So right now, I'm building my resume here, and it's becoming impressive, to even some of my peers in New York of the things that I've been doing. Like I said, from talking to the mayor to uh, community cleanups, to a lot of the things that I'm doing, it's impressing them. So, I'm just building the resume so when it's that time, I can come back home and do something major with with people like that.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So, also with all the things that you do, you have upcoming plans, you have upcoming events, and all these things. How do you feel when you go out there and, I guess, see the people who are affected by the things that you do?
Again, I love it. That's what I do it for, for them. Um, just for example, like my partner who I work with, Fred, he just did a food drive Tuesday, right there in the presidential shopping complex. And there was a lot of people out there that was receiving food. And I know it's needed. Macon suffers from a lot of crime, but a lot of this crime comes from these same issues, from poverty, from lack of education, from lack of resources. So I feel, another way to fight crime is providing these resources. And, you know, if you're hungry, what are you going to do, right? If you don't have the proper knowledge or the proper education to feed yourself, you're going to do it in a savage way. And, I try to provide so they won't have to do the savage way.
What changes do you want to see in the area right now?
The changes that I want to see is resources, and I want to see a lot more youth activities. We see the sports, we see those type of things for the youth, but we're in a era to where everything is digital, everything is technology, everything happens to deal with coding or robotics and these different things. So I would like to see a lot more of those programs going on, a lot more educational programs, and I would also like to see um, a lot more employment for our community. A lot more industries coming from our community, other than the ones that we already have.
How do you feel that well, first off, how long have you been in the Macon area again?
Since 2016.
Wow. Wow. So, how have you seen things change in the Macon area and I guess all around Georgia as well?
Mm, I've seen some changes. I've seen, to me, Macon is going through what Macon, I mean, excuse me, Macon is going through what Atlanta went through, like right after the Olympics, when a lot of people from the Olympics, they seen what Atlanta was, they seen a space and opportunity, and they tried to capitalize off of it. And being that Atlanta is predominantly black, the black community benefited from it. But what was really taking place, a lot of gentrification, a lot of people lost out, but some capitalized. Here, um, I see that we're about to get into that. If you familiar with the Pleasant Hill area, you see these lofts popping up. You see this park that they're building. All of that suggests gentrification, change of things, change of scenery, that type of thing, which, you know, it could be a win or it could be a loss, depending on your situation or your perspective in the manner and how you take advantage of the situation. And just looking at things, the black community here is not really organized or has an agenda to really combat the gentrification or play a place in the gentrification process. So those are the changes that I have seen, and these are the changes that I fight for or I raise the topic of discussion to talk about it so people could be aware of it. What I have seen positive though is I've seen a lot of organizations collaborating. I've seen a lot of these nonprofits that are really making a difference. If it wasn't for these nonprofits, the community would be in a bad shape. And I'm really proud that there's organizations that's out here doing the work.
So, what do you want Macon to look like in its, I guess, peak, or what do you want Macon to look like?
So when you study history, you know, you see how Macon was, and that's how I see Macon. I see us being this community of industries, of black businesses, of just prosperity. If you look at what Pleasant Hill was, they had their own hospital, their own university, their own schools. They was a well knitted community, and I just want to see that again. Like I wrote a post a couple of weeks ago saying that before I die, I would like to be a part of a community or a village rather. That's everybody's working together, everybody's um, conducting business together. We're educating one another. We're living amongst each other, peacefully.
Okay. What would you want the, I guess, black community to look like?
So educated, civilized, and living in a righteous way. But I know all of that takes place through education. Education and dealing in equality. And when I say equality, meaning like if I know something, I'm not going to use that as leverage over you. I'm going to try to build you up to the level that I'm at. So everyone is like that. And that's what I think we need. And that's what I would like to see.
Okay. All right. All right. When looking at the past and things that have gone through, especially at the start 2020, mid 2020, and all the things past that, how do you feel about the situations that black people and also people who have, I guess, been the minorities, how you feel about the things that most of us had to, well, not most of us, but the things that are popping up on the news and all the stuff like that? How do you feel about it?
I look at it for what it is, and I gain an understanding from it, but I gain an understanding by doing the knowledge to these different things. And as we was talking about earlier, a lot of this violence comes from other areas that we're really not talking about. We're not talking about the unemployment rate here. We're not talking about poverty. We're not talking about lack of education. We're not talking about kids reading under a third grade level. These to me, those are the real problems that push the violence or crime rather. I feel like if we pay more attention to these issues and took care of some of these issues, we would see a decline in these other areas. Um, and then, like what you were saying about just the minority, not just dealing with black people, the minority, right? Where are the resources for the minorities? Again, a lot of these nonprofits are taking care of that. And of course, that comes from the city, but you know, these nonprofits can only do so much. So I feel like if it was a collaborative effort from the city, these nonprofits, and the community, you'll see a lot more decrease in these situations.
No, when I thought about a lot of the stuff with um um doing awareness and being an activist and just doing all these man, the word's not coming to my mind right now. I don't know why, but being an activist and stands and all these things going on, walking and just going out and showing your support, showing that you're not standing for this. How do you feel about the people who abuse that and use it to loot and riot and do things like that?
Um, it's a flip side to every coin. You have positive and you have negative. You have positive influential people, and then you have negative influential people, and some people use their power for the wrong reason, and then you have others that use it for the right reason. So I feel like that's always going to take place in life. You're going to have your good and your evil in every situation. Me, I just try to stay grounded in what I'm passionate about and the cause, and never forgetting those before me. Your Martin Luther Kings, your Malcolm X, your Marcus Garveys, your Frederick Douglass. All of these guys really inspired me and touched me, and I'm trying to carry on their tradition and what they left. And picking up that baton and being able to pass that on to someone like you or any of these youth.
What is your opinion on people saying that we should go back to Africa and learn our roots and learn things like that because of a lot of people like people Indians, a lot of people coming from Japan when they come to the U.S. unless they're immigrants, they have a place to go back to in case anything goes south. How do you feel about people
I
saying we
think
should go back to Africa and learn our roots?
I love it. I feel like, that's our true culture. What's over here in America is not really for us. We have to remember, what took place, with meaning that we wasn't brought over here on our free will, and when we was back home in Africa, we looked at America as the wilderness, so we have to remember that, and also looking back, it also taps into our roots, what we was really doing, how we really was, what was the mindset back then, and during the period of time to where we at now, we have forgotten that totally, but if you look at these other races, um they have somewhere to call home. You know, Indians have India, Asians have Asia, Europeans have Europe, you know what I'm saying? Africans Americans here in Africa, I mean here in America, some of us never been there. Some of us don't even know what it looks like. Some of us don't even know the culture there. At least with these said people that I just named, they could tap into their culture some type of way. You have your little Indias, your little Italy's, your little Hades, all of these different places, but you don't have a little Africa that's really representing how the culture was.
So have you or do you have plans to go back to the motherland?
Yes, yes. Currently, I'm still on probation. They gave me 20 years in totality, so 12 years in prison, 8 years on probation. Um, when I get off of probation next year, I do plan to make the pilgrimage home. Hopefully
Mhm.
it'll be with Brother Kirkland that owns Homeland Village. We have been talking about it. So yes, I would love to go back home and just tap into, where I come from.
With all the things that you do to help out the community and things like that, what do you feel about when things go, I guess, backwards with the movement?
I get frustrated often. I'm not gonna lie. I get frustrated often. But again, every time I get frustrated, I go back to just how I was and how I didn't want to hear that and how I didn't want to be a part of it. That's really a waste of time. And so every time I get frustrated, I just go back to the drawing board and ways. again, everything is about presentation. So how can I present this better to the people? What can I do differently? What conversations do I need to be having? Who do I need to connect with in order to get my point across? These type of things. So I'm very analytical on the different things that I do. And, you know, going back to the drawing board is always a big thing for me. And that's how I deal with, the frustrations and everything like that. And also, you know, having a positive circle around you. The people that I build with, they'll tell you, Carl gets frustrated quick, or different things like that, but they pour into me so much that it brings me out of it. They tell me that, I should have more grace about myself, or just, take what you're doing right now and all of that. But a lot of it plays into me doing 12 years in prison and feeling like um I missed a lot. So, I expect things to be a certain way, but at the end of the day, I have to look around and just say, like, it's a lot of people that came out of prison that's not doing what I'm doing. That's not connected like how I'm connected. So I have to, take the good with the bad and just be thankful for where I'm at.
Yes. When you brought up prison again, and also about being frustrated, has being incarcerated taught you much about patience?
Taught me a lot about patience. That patience was something that I never really had, but being in there, you have to have patience. Yeah, and it prison prison taught me a lot. It taught me how to be disciplined. It taught me patience, and it taught me who I am. And these are things that I practice every day. I practice patience. I practice discipline, and of course, I try to learn as much about me as possible that I can on a daily basis. And these are things that uh, prison has helped me with.
When you're in there, have you met people that you still stay in contact with that, I guess, help you with, I guess, the same movement that you're doing today, or really just brought you up?
Yeah, I stay in contact. A lot of these guys are influential in the things I have today. And, I'll say this to anybody. Some of the best ideas come from out of prison. And you have to think about what these brothers or sisters are doing on a daily basis. They have nothing but time to, especially if they're conscious, especially if they're awakening, that's all they do. College, I mean, prison becomes a university, and that's what it became for me. I was studying everything that I could get my hands on, and there's no one to tell you, uh, you know, you can't do that at that time because you have all the time in the world to do it. You don't have any other responsibilities. You don't have to take your wife here. You don't have to do this. You pretty much into you so you could pour into you, and that was one of the greatest things that I needed at that time.
All right. When you got out, you said that things were a lot different. I mean, it was 12 years, but how did you get back into the world? Because it changes a lot, and it's changing a lot more each year and changing faster in these years. But how did you get?
So that was my biggest fear while I was in prison. My biggest fear was to with what was going on. I would ask my mom to, write me often so I could stay in tune with what was going on. I was fortunate to be able to call my family at least once a week to see what was going on. So that's how I pretty much stayed in tune. But on my own, without my family, I would stay in the library, and I would read magazines like Ebony. I would read Essence. I would read anything I could get my hands on dealing with us and dealing with what was going on in the world, to just stay on top of different things. So when I came home, it wasn't that hard for me. It wasn't that hard for me. And I had a great support team. I had a great support team. My mom, my sisters, my girl, just everybody. I had a great support team, and I recommend that for anybody coming out of prison or even while you're in prison to build a support team and really just rock with them and trust them and take heed to what they're telling you, and when you get out, just pour back into them what they was pouring into you.
When seeing everything that you do and seeing all that you influence, what do you want your, I guess, what do you want your things to be looking? What I phrased that wrong. What do you want to be doing in the next 5 years, 10 years? What do you want your, I guess, career in being an activist and being a mentor? What do you want that to be looking like in the next 5, 10 years?
Um, as far as the mentor part, the goal is to see successful young men and women spring from that, and they pour back into the community how I was pouring back into them. And if you have a lot of people pouring, then eventually you're gonna look up and you have this village, right? So that's my plan with the mentoring. As far as an activist, I don't even see myself as an activist. I just see myself doing what I'm passionate in doing, and that's giving back to the community, a place that I once was part of the destruction. So it's just me giving back. Uh, 5 years from now, I see myself running that, not running, but working with collective in that facility that I'm telling you about. I really want that bad. I want my own facility that has the different programs that I'm speaking about, because I feel like that's a necessity in the community.
Okay. What do you want your legacy to be like to your family and those around you?
Just a righteous man. That I just want my leg when they all said and done. I just want to be looked at as a righteous man. A man that stood on principle, a man that for the most part was right and exact, and that's what I strive for.
All right. So when you're not being out there helping the youth and being in all these events and just being a jewel to the community, what do you do to relax? And when you have free time, what do you do with your spare time?
I still read a lot. I read a lot and I process information. I also watch a lot of podcasts, a lot of documentaries. I'm just into learning, learning as much as possible that I could pour into myself and become the best I could be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. When going back to New York and while also just conversating with your family on everything you done and everything they done, how do you feel to, I guess, not just have a group of people that are outside of your family, but a group of people who are inside of your family, all doing the same thing to help the community and help make a change in the world, really?
Right. I mean, I just feel like we was raised like that. My grandmother, just watching her, give to the community, give to the church. Um, it's always been with me. Even when I was doing bad, I was giving back. So that just always been in me. And it's the same way with my family. My aunt, she's been doing it since I've been alive. My mother, from her doing a daycare to babysitting kids to what she's doing now, working with kids with autism. It inspires me, and how it's going now, it's like we just inspiring each other, and motivating each other.
That's incredible. When you go back to New York and things, do you help out with everything that's going on? And what are your plans for New York after you feel like you've gotten into the place where you could help it, help the city, the state?
So it's New York is pretty much in a better position than Macon is, because you already have these programs, you already have these organizations that have been around for a long time. So it's pretty much like uh, a rotation that goes on, right? The new people come in, the old people go out. So, it's just connecting with people and building that network, but also, you know, establishing who you are. And that's what I'm in the process of doing right now, establishing who I am, what I do, what my services are, what my niche is. And when I go back to New York and I'm able to present these different things, these different services and these niches that I got, it's the next question is, okay, how can we work together? Or how can we do this? Or, well, I have this project in making. I want to come out and do this. And next time I come back in New York, I want to be in a position like that.
So, what places are on your list to be a person to help and I guess make the community better? What is your list of places, or what's your list of just people that you want to change?
Just really, so the black community in general, man, woman, and child. Man needs to know who he is, woman needs to know who she is, and the child needs to know who the child is. And then from knowing, we need to be treated as such. We come from kings and queens. We don't come from ignorance. We come from some of the highest intelligence in the world. We built pyramids. A lot of these things that we use today, if it wasn't for us, a lot of this wouldn't be taking place, from mathematics to science to pretty much everything. But a lot of us are ignorant to these things, and because of the ignorance, we act accordingly. And I feel like if we actually knew, we'll see a whole lot of change. We'll start to act accordingly. We're starting to act like what we know, and because we don't know, we act differently.
Okay. What is your way to let people know who they are? As a mentor, what is your way to, I guess, for people to realize who they are?
History, I take people. I don't give people nothing that I haven't given to myself, and my reformation process took place through history. Studying history, studying what came before me, studying uh significant black people within our culture. Again, your Marcus Garveys, your Frederick Douglass, your Harriet Tubmans, your list of name goes on, and just studying history. When you study history, you see the truth. And I'm learning that a lot of our younger generation are not too in tune with history, and they have forgotten, our ancestors. And uh, I try to bring that to them. I try to bring our ancestors to them. I try to introduce them to that. I try to introduce them to when we was great.
When looking through your ancestors and looking through the people who've made a change in the black community and around the world, really, with what they done, were you surprised with all the things that you didn't know that the black community did?
Absolutely. And it just showed me how ignorant I was. Um, growing up in New York, you see places like Marcus Garvey Boulevard, Malcolm X Boulevard. See all of these places, but you really don't know what these men really did. And it's like it's taboo. It's not talked about. You have to go do your own research, or you have to really tap in. And being in prison, I had the chance to tap in and really just see what these men and women were doing, and what the fight was. And like like Malcolm, Malcolm has a similar story to me. He once was a criminal. He went to prison and began studying and got with the Nation of Islam and just changed his whole life around to this is who we know today. And that's inspirational to me. Or hearing how big of a movement Marcus Garvey had, or seeing how big the Nation of Islam was when they was in their prime and they was, had chapters in every city and industries and farms and just, at their peak. It's amazing to me, and that's what motivates me and gives me the inspiration to go out each and every day and teach this knowledge to my people.
Yes. Oh, all right. Wow. Okay. So, sadly, our time is almost coming to an end. But before, I know you did send me some flyers of some upcoming things that
Mhm.
you are, I'm guess, being a part of. So, let's just pull that up. You have this one.
Yes, that's a series that we're starting called Party with a Purpose. That's the first series that we're doing in honor of Domestic Violence Month. Isha Andrea, I've been working with her for some years now.
Okay.
She hosted the Excellence Awards for me. She's just an exceptional human being, and she has a passion for women and men who suffer from domestic violence. And this is her organization that, she has put together. And the party is to pour into her and her movement and help her see her organization off the ground. And, I'm asking that, the people that support me, people that support her to come out and let's party with a purpose.
Also have this one coming up as well.
hmm So Small Business Saturday, this would be the second month that we're doing it at Booker T. The first one was, a huge success. We had over 25 vendors. We had a food giveaway to where we fed over 100 people. And the purpose of it is just to create that community, that village feel, to where there's business going on, there's giveaways going on, people are networking. Eventually, I want to start having seminars and different things like that. But all of this is just to bring people out, connect them to the resources, connect them to Black businesses, and the goal is to open a store. And not everybody not everybody so when you go to a grocery store, you see different businesses being represented in a grocery store, right? So
Yes.
this is kind of my concept of the community store. A lot of these vendors put their products in the store, and then we promote them, and it's an actual store, so where we have a little bit of everything in it for us.
Wow. All right. That's pretty great. All right. All right. All right. So, with all these events that you do, all the food giveaways, it's so cool. I'm just wowed by all the things that you're doing in this community, and I applaud you, and all the audience applauds you too. I mean, they really loved what you've been talking about tonight, and I really thank you for being on.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
Before we go, man, I just wanted to say I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you staying dedicated to this. I'm proud of you, having these type of conversations because it's needed in the community. And I also want to say I'm very proud of you the way you carry yourself.
okay,
You carry yourself like a young man already. You know what I mean? And that's very hard. And I know it's hard because I once was there. It's a lot of peer pressure, a lot of temptation around you, but you stay grounded, you stay focused, you got a good mother behind you. And, from one man to the next man, I want to say I'm proud of you, Jalen, for real.
thank you, thank you. Now, before you get off, we have to ask you, where can we find you? Where can we find information about all the things that you do, all the upcoming events that you're a part of, and how we could just hear more?
So I'm Carl Myers on Facebook. Pretty much everything is on there. I'm not too tech savvy, so I just stay in one component, which is Facebook. I'm also on Instagram too, C Saver, but I don't really post a lot on Instagram. People could email me at carlmyers16 at gmail.com, or you could simply call me. I take phone calls too at 478 561 9035. That's how you could get at me.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for being on today.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
It was a pleasure.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. And also, guys, before I get off and do my thank you to the audience, yada yada, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, all that. Um, what I recently found out is pretty great. Lumps, the short film I starred in that came out just a little bit ago. We were in some film festivals and things like that. It's in another film festival coming up, which is really cool. No, this is the flyer for it. It was a it was fun. It was fun being part of it. It was really it was great. It was fantastic. And now it's a part of another film festival. And I mean, congratulations to not just me, but Mr. David Nixon and all the cast, because it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm really happy about this. It's pretty cool, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Also, if you guys saw this, I'm gonna be here doing some interviews at the Shoot Your Shot Film Festival. Funny, I'm introducing this all on the same day, but this is another film festival that I don't think Lumps is gonna be in. A lot of my stuff about film festivals and all this stuff will be on Facebook. My mom hasn't posted it yet. It's under Cat Cold on Facebook, so if you guys want to see more information about it, it should be on there. And yeah, but this is going to be something I'm doing interviews at. I'm going to be just having ball there. There's going to be a lot more upcoming stuff about that again. But also, you guys do know about On Time Sunwear with Mr. Eddie Bell, but unfortunately, his wife passed away, and it's a really sad thing, and it's a sad thing to go through, especially for him. So please put your prayers down in the comments, because I mean it's I don't know how one would get through this, and I don't think people do at all. So to be honest, just share your love for Mr. Eddie Bell. You see his Facebook thing up there, On Time Sunwear. You know about it. It's some pretty great sunglasses that he just sponsored me with. He just gave me some pairs for free, and I really appreciate all of his work, and I just appreciate all he's done for us. And they just been big supporters of what I've been doing with Jalen Says, and it's it's something. It's really something. This was her daily show that she did for everyone, and yeah, she was really just really really just they were all just really supportive, and something Miss Shonda Gibson. And yeah, please put your prayers in. It would mean the world to them, because he has a big family, and it's just something to go through. So please, guys, I mean, mm, yeah, just it's a lot to go through, and I'm sorry to end this on, I guess, a sad note, but yeah, but just make sure you show your support and love to Mr. Eddie Bell and his family. And yes, rest in power, Miss Shonda Gibson. And a lot of new stuff is coming up, a lot of editing stuff from the last show that that I've been interviewing people with. So that's coming out very soon. And just thank you guys all for watching, and leaving it on a happy note. Thank you all for watching. My mom's birthday was it before the last interview? No, it was, yeah, it was before the last interview. So yeah, my mom's birthday, I'm not sure if I shared anything about it, but yeah, it's my mom's birthday. It's 13 days after mine. Um uh we we had a, I guess, a fun time this entire month, and a lot of new stuff's coming up, a lot of stuff going on. It's gonna be pretty cool. A lot of new events, a lot of new stuff, and get ready for a lot of new stuff posted on Facebook, a lot of new fun stuff. And thank you guys all for coming on. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the love. I appreciate all the subscribers. I really do. Yes, Cash App for them as well, because he is going through, I don't even know how much, but it is a lot with everything he has to take care of with all of this stuff. And I am trying my best to pull it up right now. Please, if you can, please donate to this um Cash App for support, because they have 4 kids, and now I'm guessing it's a lot. I don't know personally, but please, if you guys do have the time and if you can, please go to the Cash App. And again, On Time Sunwear, it's it's always on time. It always fits with anything. I mean, look at me right now. It just looks spectacular. I look fly, as the kids say. I look sharp as a tack. And yeah, On Time Sunwear, it is always on time. Make sure you guys go check out Mr. Eddie Bell's Facebook. Give him support. Give him love. Thank you all for just all the support, everything, the subscribers, the shares, the likes. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and I guess with no further pause or anything like that, stay tuned. Peace.